How would you define racism?
Unnecessary, or there's no logical reason behind it, but for some reason somebody of some certain race has something against somebody of another race.
I would define racism as the idea and the philosophy that people use to believe that they're more supreme than other people, and specifically the racism comes from white people believing that they are more superior than other people, a subdivision of races. Humans are all one species, but racism makes it believe that white people are somehow superior, and that's what is in people's minds.
I would say you're taught from childbirth, you're taught not to like somebody because of their skin color. And that's also, it's based on stereotypes too, I feel. Because you look on the news and you'll see that, oh, well, the African American community is rioting or this, that, and the other, and you get scared now. So that when you see them, whatever you see on TV, you're going to take that into perspective. So now when you see a black guy walking down the street, you're like, oh, well, you feel a little bit scared. Are you being racist? I don't know, but...
How has racism impacted your life personally?
I honestly can't say that I've had anyone be racist against me, and I've never actually been racist against anyone else, but I have seen it, and sometimes it does make me more cautious about going into certain areas of town in large crowds. I try to avoid them.
Well, as a white person, I grew up in a generally racist white society, and early on, as a child, became aware of the history of slavery, and this compelled me to look deeper into the history of this country and learn that this country and this social system were built on the oppression of black people, and racism was created to justify that system.
Personally, it really hasn't, but I think that's because I'm of the white Caucasian race, so I haven't had to deal with it as much as probably other people.
To this colonial state, this colonized state. So it's not racism so much that I think is my problem, because racism is just what somebody thinks about you in their head. That doesn't cause me a problem. What causes me a problem is white people's ability, state-sanctioned ability to make what they think in their heads have some real material implications in my life.
What recent event of violence due to racism has impacted you the most?
Again, it's an interesting question. I don't see it as a racism kind of thing. I think the fundamental, the central issue is colonialism, and I'm affected by equally affected by every instance of violence perpetrated by the colonizer against the colonized. So, this is September 14, 2015, this year, there's been a rash of murderous activities of the state, the colonizers, exposed via these camera phones that they have now, like Freddie Gray, Eric Garner, I think Tamir Rice was caught on video. Just on and on and on. So it's a lot of video stuff of the awful things that the colonizers do to colonized African people. I can't say that one affects me more than the other. They're all equally detestable in my view.
Obviously, with the media propaganda and whatnot. I think, obviously the Baltimore, what's going on over there is pretty serious, and it's definitely impacted me in a way that I feel. Also, I feel like it's more of the ignorance that's been displayed on social media and whatnot about people. Only it seems to be really focusing on the negative elements that are going on in Baltimore. They're not showing really peaceful protesting. Instead, they're emphasizing the looters. They're trying to intertwine both. They're saying, oh, all the protesters are looters. And it's like, no, that's not the case at all. Peaceful protesters are literally protesting and have been. That's not as acknowledged. And then the looters are the ones, that are supposedly them. It's like, no, the looters are just ignorant people that just are taking advantage of what's going on. Unfortunately, a lot of my Caucasian friends, embarrassingly enough, I noticed, and even different ethnicities are definitely going around posting things on Facebook and saying, oh, well, look, they're all right here. And look at people that got shot. They have, a criminal record. And it's like, how is that even relevant to someone's death or murder? So I have some opposing views.
I guess because it was, I don't watch TV much, so I don't know. I don't read the newspaper, and I don't, read other people's information unless it's in books, nonfiction and stuff like that. So I can't really say anything too much. But I would say Trayvon Martin situation just because I live in Florida. And living in Florida, my sister called me immediately from New Jersey and said, all right, you need to be careful. You're a very tall, intimidating African-American male. Anyone could just shoot you and say you intimidated them. So I would say probably an impact on my life and how I have to watch my tone, if you will. I would say that.
What effect do you believe education has in race relations?
It plays a big role. Back again, saying I'm from Memphis, you can see the county schools are predominantly white, the city schools are predominantly black, and you can see the funding. You can sit there, you can walk up to this school and walk up to this school, and you can just see that, you can look at the funding, you can see the difference. The dilapidation, I can't talk, dilapidation of the buildings, the lack of school books, overcrowding of the classrooms, the list goes on. So I think there is a disparity in funding in public education, absolutely.
I think it has a huge effect. I think the fact that we don't teach history in terms of other perspectives really encourages racism. So I think changing that right there would change a lot of the ways that we view racism and a lot of the ways that we try to change it or make some kind of impact on it.
Okay, now that's a good one because I do find that people of different colors, races, it's easier for them to get scholarships than those that are Caucasian and white. It's easier for them to get grants. And there's actually scholarships set for certain races or ethnicities, however you say it, that aren't for, Caucasian people. So I find that a little bit unfair. I think everybody should have a chance no matter what color they are, especially people. I think it honestly should go by, what type of money you have. If you can't afford school, then somebody should help you afford school.
I don't think it's controversial to say that it's probably extremely important. Racism is something that we kind of tend to learn from the previous generation, I think. So education is very important in combating that.
Especially today, we have classes, at least in the psychology major, where it's women's studies or it's studies about gender, and we are starting to have those discussions in public universities. So you do get educated on things like that. You get educated on public policies and on different cultures. And I think that really helps open up people's minds.
Where do you see us 2 decades from now?
not sure. I either see us continuing to change, like the change that I've seen in my lifetime with what's termed race relations, which is actually human relations. I've seen a lot of positive change. I would like to say that I see that continuing till that there's harmony in our society, but at the same time, with the tension that I see with the social economic problems in certain communities, the lack of education or opportunities for certain communities to evolve in our country, that it could end up in a serious fracture in our society.
My hope is to be better as a group of people, as we become more diverse in the society that we're in. But I think that we will continue to have this issue of race, but hoping that it would be better. There will be conflicts, a continuous conflict, because you can't educate everyone. But if we have a large society that are educated and knowledgeable and approach things the right way with compassion, I think the large number of percentage of the community will help those that do not know or those that are still prejudiced to overcome that. We come a long way already. I mean, I've been here for 30 years, so I've seen the differences just by looking at my community, where I was once categorized as, Vietnamese, because at that time it was a Vietnam War. So every Asian was Vietnamese coming from Southeast Asia. So now it's totally different. The Vietnamese community are very well accepted. They become very active in their community as well as the melting pot of the American culture. So there's that understanding there, and I'm very hopeful for that. But to truly end the issue, no. But hopefully it will lessen it.
That's a good question. I think, unfortunately, we're not going to be in a very good place. That's all I'm going to say.
In 2 minutes or less, is there anything else you would like to say?
I would say I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful for the future, because I'm an example of that. I think that personally I've come a long way, so I think hope is always encouraging for the future.
I just wish that everyone would wake up. I wish people would open their hearts and their minds and really take a look at what's going on and put yourself in the shoes of other people, because that's the only way to truly empathize and understand and make a difference.
One always has to be aware of the old saying, and I don't know who said it first, about walking a mile in another person's shoes. Might be a good idea for all of us to try that.
Love everybody, love one another. Don't hate, appreciate.